Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. We have our last legislative live stream of the 2025 legislative session. Really excited. This is going to be a great time this week. So, like, share, subscribe, get the link out there. We're going to start here at 7:30, starting here at 7:30. Thank you.
Hello.
Michael, how are you, sir? Sorry, I wasn't muted. I just realized.
You're good. You're good. I was just testing my speaker and microphone to make sure it worked. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good, man. I'm really excited for the show tonight. We got a great one, a lot to wrap everything up. So, really looking forward to it. We are live on YouTube currently.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, yeah. Yeah, I can't believe this is the last one.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, crazy legislative session. So thankfully, the damage is almost done. But of course, we're going to be living with the consequences of their tyranny for a long time.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking the last 2 years we've had a surprise bill pop up on the final Monday, uh, so they could shove something through. I'm really hoping it's not that proposed armory bill that Ian brought to light.
I know that would be horrible. That would absolutely be horrible. All right, I'm going to mute myself here. We'll talk to you in about 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. Welcome to this legislative live stream with the Libertarian Party of Colorado. We have Michael Vance, legislative director, and myself, Brandon Wark from Free State, Colorado, going over the bills of the week here. This is our last live stream of the year. Thankfully, the state legislature will be getting adjourning for the year on Wednesday, May 7th. So, really excited about that. But, Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Brandon. How about yourself?
Hey, doing very well as well. Excited, thankful that the legislature is going to be done soon. They have inflicted so much damage in Colorado. It's so frustrating to see what they've been doing. So really happy about that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this last week shakes out for sure.
Absolutely. When we first went into this legislative session, I really thought, hey, the Republicans gained some ground and gained some ground in the legislature. So, in fact, the House lost its veto-proof majority. So, I really was hopeful that we would see kind of a calm down in some of the craziness on the dip from the left, but they were just as strong as ever, even after they lost Epps and Hernandez. So um, I'm hopeful that them being checked in a election year will bode well for next year. But right now, I'm just looking at it and I'm still just amazed that we saw a lot of the bills that we saw. I mean, even your graphic to start us off today, 731 bills is absolutely insane.
Right. Oh, definitely. I know it's absolutely crazy how far this legislative session or how far these crazy extremist legislators have gone this year. But yeah, I'm so thankful, that it's going to be over. Really looking forward to it. But yeah, there's some wins, some losses. We'll have a lot to talk about. After the session's over, we'll see how this last week goes. So I really encourage people. The Independence Institute is having their wine and cheese event, kind of a legislative recap as well. This next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, I'll be posting about that a lot. That's on the 15th. And then on the 21st, May 21st, I'll be speaking at Denver Liberty on the Rocks, doing my yearly legislative recap where I go over kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Been doing that for many years now, so I'm excited. Got a lot of material to talk about. It's going to be tough to try and limit what I'm saying because there's just so much there. But yeah, it's just crazy, Michael. But I think we're ready to jump into it. What do you think?
Absolutely. I just want to say real quick, everybody go email Whitney at i2i.org and make sure to go support Brandon. I mean, Brandon does so much. I mean, if there's anybody who deserves this grassroots leadership award, it's going to be Brandon. So we're all grateful for everything you've done, Brandon, and I hope everybody gets out and supports you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, they're giving me an award for my grassroots activism, so pretty excited for that. But also excited just to get together with everybody and have some fun, have some drinks and talk to people, and it's gonna be a blast. So I'll share that link in the chat there as well. But yeah, really looking forward to that. And of course, everybody go to Liberty on the Rocks. There's so much we're gonna be doing, so much to talk about even after this session is over. So. Perfect, perfect. But yeah, I'd say let's go ahead and jump into the presentation here. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Let me pull that screen back up here. And all right. So yeah, absolutely crazy year, folks. As you all know, if you've been joining the live streams for years now, or for the last few years, or last year at least that we've been doing this, then you know how crazy these people can be. But yeah, this year definitely takes the cake on a lot of things. And like you said, Michael, hopefully, with the 2026 elections, the crazy extremists might be a little less extreme that year. So we're really, really hoping for that, but we'll see, of course. Who knows what's going to happen in the future there. So awesome. All right. So I want to start off, because we are in the last week. There's really not a lot for committee hearings. There's really not a lot to talk about. There's going to be some bills probably going through committee, but it's going to happen in the same day. Rules are suspended for a lot of reasons in the state house these last 10 days. So we're going to see bills could be introduced, like you said, Michael. A bill we're talking about here tonight. Any of these can end up in committee over the next 3 days, and there could be an opportunity for people to speak. I'll try and stay on top of it on social media, particularly on X. Please follow Free State Colorado on X, and I'll keep you updated. But these are some of the bills I think we really need to pay attention to. I'm really hoping people will pay attention to this last week of the session here. These are some of the biggest bills that still have some action done on them. So, of course, people have probably heard of this Tabor repeal lawsuit. The radical Democrats in the state legislature are trying to repeal our taxpayers' Bill of Rights. They're trying to sue the voters and the people of Colorado to make it happen. And that's what they're trying to do with this joint resolution. Thankfully, it's been stalled out in the House for a couple weeks now. So there's a chance that it might make it. This one might be one of the ones they kind of leave on the table there. So really hoping so. But people be really vigilant about this one. If it comes up, we'd love to see people show up to speak, people to get involved, people to really. What you can do between now and then is email your state representatives. This Tabor Repeal Bill 1023 is in the state house right now. They could vote on it as soon as tomorrow. So if you can do anything, reach out to state reps on 1023. Any thoughts on the Tabor Repeal lawsuit, Michael?
Yeah, I think you've said it best. I mean, it really is the law of the people, and for a party who loves to uh, display their democracy credentials, they sure love attacking laws that have been implemented by the people, and not only implemented, but have been supported throughout the decades. I mean, even as soon as early as 23 with Prop HH going down in flames. I believe that was killed at a rate of 60-40. So there was a 20% split between yes and no votes on Prop HH. So clearly this is something that the people of Colorado believe in, and they have reinforced their support throughout the decades. So it's absolutely mind blowing that these people still call themselves the party of democracy when all they do is attack democratic legislation.
100%. Yeah, the initiative process where citizens can directly petition each other, get something on the ballot, and approve a change to our state constitution is a cornerstone of our democracy. And for these radical authoritarian legislators to attack that principle, to try and repeal our taxpayers' Bill of Rights is sickening and disgusting. All those people deserve to get kicked out, ran out of our state, if I'm being realistic there. So that's one of the biggest things out there, folks. One of the scariest things remaining this year is House Joint Resolution 1023. So if you can, reach out to all the state reps. It doesn't have to just be your state rep. It needs to be some Democrats. There needs to be some push there. Thank Julie McCluskey. Thank the speaker. Thank Monica Duran, the majority leader, that they haven't brought this forward yet. I mean, why not? At this point, anything we can do, whether it's the sugar or the salt, the vinegar, to try and get it going there. So another big one. Now, this one's been on our radar for a while. We were talking about this back in, gosh, probably February. This Senate Bill 72. It is a radical, first of its kind, massive regulatory scheme for kratom. Now, I personally know people who use kratom to manage their pain. They don't want to take these dangerous opioids. They don't want to take these prescription drugs that big pharma is shoving down their throats. Kratom's a plant. It's a natural alternative. It's been around forever. And it's only become more popular in the United States here in the last few decades, right? But it's a powder. People usually have this plant. They grind it up into a powder, then they put it in their water, put it in their drink, and it helps them. It helps them out. It's a natural medicine. So here we are in Colorado, one of the first states ever to legalize marijuana, to legalize all these psychedelics, and now they're attacking kratom. Of course, this is not the will of the people. The people would totally reject this, as we've seen with those ballot measures I just mentioned. This is radical authoritarian legislators, primarily Republicans and Democrats, working as well. Don't get me wrong, working together to do this. So these people need to be held accountable, and we really need to tell state reps about that to oppose this bill. Senate Bill 72. It is going to be possibly in House Appropriations tomorrow. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it possibly is in House Appropriations. And really hope it dies in appropriations. It's not on the calendar as of yet, but they could add it immediately. Then it can go to the House as a whole, get voted on there, and then potentially become law if it's not amended. So, or go to the governor at least. So bad news there. Any thoughts on Senate Bill 72, Michael?
I find it interesting that they're really trying to attack kratom because it's not like kratom's it's not like a psychotropic drug that's really going to make you feel quote unquote high, for lack of a better phrase. If anything, it makes people feel more relaxed and maybe a little bit less stressed, and that's about it. It really helps people a lot with pain. And I'm kind of curious because when when we talked to individual legislators about this bill in the past, one of the things they said was, "Hey, there's a group of people that are backed by some money that are really trying to attack kratom. So we're trying to do this as a bit of a half measure to keep people from possibly trying to full out ban kratom altogether in Colorado." So inst So I don't necessarily know who those people are. I'd like to know who those organizations are because because another big reason that people love kratom is because it's not, as you said, an opioid, and opioids are controlled a lot of times by big pharma. They've had billions of dollars of backing to even introduce the drug itself, and then because of that, that creates this kind of nasty, nefarious uh, lobbying group that's going to try to um, support the legislation by that these big that these I shouldn't say product, but I shouldn't say legislation, but they're going to try to enact legislation to support the specific um, pills or the products that they produce, just because of how much money it took in the first place for them to even um, uh, get the do all the fundamental research so that way they get the drug itself FDA approved. That being said, those pharmaceuticals still have a lot of problems with them, and then you see years later some of these FDA approved products get pulled off the market because they didn't fully vet these products, they didn't fully get tested out, and it turns out that there's a lot of people that got harmed by these products. So that's something that's going to happen regardless. That's at the same time, that's a reason that we need to, you know, possibly pull some of the regulations back off the pharmaceutical industry so that way more players can play. We can have more competition, possibly that would possibly result in a freer, more healthier drug culture because the more and more regulations we put on the market, the only the big players can play, and it pushes a lot of innovation out of the market once you have so much regulatory pressure built in. And then you get lobbying groups that want to keep that. Then you have lobbying groups that want to keep out the smaller players. So it's, if anything, what we need to do is figure out who exactly is um, supporting this legislation. We need to figure out who is funding all this. Just kind of like how we did with Senate Bill 86. We saw that Ready Colorado was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to enforce Senate Bill 86. So I would love to see somebody do a similar deep dive into Senate Bill 72 and the prime sponsors um, who are backing this bill.
Definitely, yeah. Senate Bill 72. Yeah, it's supposedly there's some people in the creative industry who are promoting it. Not the National Creative Association, of course, they're totally against it. But yeah, bad bill, folks. And this is one that's flown under the radar so much that just a little bit of push from the grassroots can kill this bill. It's an easy way for some of these state reps to pacify the grassroots or to come out as a hero if they can kill this bill. So please put some pressure on. Pressure does work, folks. They do care. I hate seeing those comments where they don't care. Now, don't get me wrong, some of this stuff is going to get through no matter what, but for the most part, they do care. They really care what's going on here. So one of the other big ones here is House Bill 1327. So Natalie Menton's been a great resource on this. She went and spoke against it, did some really good information. Follow Colorado Engaged on X if you aren't already. But 1327 attacks our democratic process for citizen initiatives. So similar to the Tabor repeal in 1023, this is an attempt to subvert the ability of the citizens to have a say in how our government runs. It's absolutely nefarious. It's wrong. And so 1327 needs to die. Unfortunately, it did pass both the House and the Senate. Thankfully, I do have to give a shout out to Senator Byron Pelton. He got some good amendments added to it that's going to help with the requirements for reporting to the Secretary of State. He helped kind of limit some of those or took some of them out. So really appreciate Senator Byron Pelton's efforts there to make 1327 just a little bit better, knowing it was going to pass. But nonetheless, folks, if you can email the governor, maybe there's an opportunity there for him to veto 1327. What are your thoughts on that one?
No, I completely agree. We need to stop 1327 if, excuse me, if possible. We need to remind Democrats that if they love democracy, citizen initiatives are 100% the democratic way. So if we could possibly, if we have a chance to stop a bill, I'd love to see this one get stopped and remind Democrats of who they are claimed to be.
Definitely. And actually, we got three more here, folks. So it's a little bit different than our normal schedule where we kind of show you all the different committee hearings. There's really not nothing on the calendar for the committee hearings because some of these bills are not assigned to committee. They're on the floor. They could end up in a committee. Things are going to move so fast in these last 3 days that we really have to be dynamic and paying really close attention. But nonetheless, these are six of the biggest bills. We just went through these three. I'll go back here. So these three, people take a screenshot of this and share it out there, please. These are the three of the most urgent bills of the week. And then here's the other three big ones. Of course, Senate Bill 276 is the illegal immigration bill, which we'll talk about just briefly here, but that's the big fight in the state house this week. We saw the Republicans offering amendment after amendment, doing everything possible to slow down the process and really inflict some political pain on the Democrats who are pushing this radical illegal immigration bill. And it's so crazy, Michael, because the exact moment they were debating this on the floor, news came out that the Trump administration was suing the state of Colorado and suing the state of Denver for previous legislation, or the city of Denver, excuse me, but previous legislation that is mimics what they're doing here. So this is just going to go towards that same suit, same targeting of our state government and our state treasury by the Trump administration because the Democratic majority in our state legislature is openly flaunting the immigration law at the federal level. Now, what's interesting, folks, is so this bill is a Senate bill, so it was in the House this week. So it's already passed the Senate, just passed the House, right? Just passed the House on thirds yesterday on Saturday. Now it's going back to the Senate because the House amended it. So the Senate has to come through and concur with the amendments made in the House. So there's still an opportunity there if the senators do not like the amendments that the House members put on, which does happen from time to time, then they can kill this bill. So really the best opportunity for people is to reach out to the state senators. They're probably hearing this bill tomorrow. Senate Bill 276 to concur on the amendments. So people, you can help at least raise some awareness. This one's been all over, as we'll see. We got a couple screenshots coming up on that one. But what do you think about 276, Michael?
I think it's an absolutely ridiculous bill. Uh, I think the Democratic caucus has zero regard for our state's fiscal policy. All they're really going to do is spend more money from the Colorado state budget that is should be going to other things, if not paying back our debts because of how much money we already owe. This is we in If you guys remember, I've been harping on this all year. Polis said in his state address that Colorado is under a 1.2 billion dollar shortfall this year, and they didn't actually fix that whatsoever during this legislative session. All they've done is spend, 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 and put themselves in a position to lose additional federal funding. So we're going to end up being in a greater deficit once everything's said and done. So the fact that this bill is being um, passed through the General Assembly this right now is very concerning because we're going to be because they are putting us in a worse fiduciary position overall, and it's going to do is end up hurting the Colorado taxpayer once everything's said and done, and it's not going to be successful at the end of the day.
Yeah, true, very true. And if people were listening to the floor testimony in the House last 2 days on 276, it kept coming up. Republicans kept saying, "Hey, listen, if we get sued, if this gets overturned, if there's going to be this big fight over all this immigration stuff, we're probably going to have a special session this year. Probably have a special session called in to deal with this immigration issue and all these changes to the laws because now all of a sudden Colorado's revised statutes, depending on what happens with lawsuits or this or that, could be in a different position." So. We'll see. There's a lot of unanswered questions there, but of course, Senate Bill 5, don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but it is the big union bill, repeals this Union Labor Peace Act that has been around forever, basically eliminating the second election where you have to get 70 or 75% of the workers to agree to have a closed shop. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I hate the idea that if I worked at a business and I didn't want to be part of the union, I'd be forced to pay union dues. I don't like that. I don't think that's freedom. I don't think that's liberty. I think if people want to have unions, let them. Fine. It's a voluntary organization. But to try and force people as a condition of employment to join a union, to give up part of their paycheck to union bosses, and that money, folks, we all know is going to go to political purposes. So you're working your butt off. The government's already taken the taxes that you earn off the money you earn. Then you all of a sudden you have these politically centered unions come in, take more money out of your paycheck, funnel it to other Democratic candidates, and you're just getting like just totally ripped off. So I really don't like Senate Bill 5. Article came out in the Colorado Sun from Jesse Paul yesterday, I believe it was, saying that they haven't been able to come to a compromise, so they're really just going to try and pass this bill as is, not amend it any further, which means Governor Polis might veto it. But I think this is one where we could have some pressure, where people should be calling and emailing the state reps at this point, and even the governor. Tell the governor to veto it. If he's already said he might, so a little bit more encouragement could make a difference. What do you think, Michael?
I mean, I think you make good. I think you've made some really good points. I remember the state of the state address. This was a big bill for Polis, and he mentioned our union practices. So I honestly expected this one to get passed probably in March, but we're in May now, and it still has not passed. If they try to push this one through, I'm really hopeful that we could see another veto. Because and if Polis does veto this is going to be a big blow to one of his goals during his State of the State address. So I really hope that we can see some sort of progress from a liberty standpoint on this bill, and we can get this thing killed, if not completely killed before the bill passes. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying I'm starting to become a little hopeful that something like that could happen.
That would be nice for sure. And then the last big one, of course, which I'm really excited to talk to Representative Rebecca Kelty, who should be joining us at 8 o'clock to talk about the committee hearing at 1312. And Michael, I know you were down there, so I'd love to hear everything about that. We'll wait till she gets here. But of course, this is going to be heard in the state Senate, passed out of that Senate committee the other night, this last week. So now it's at the Senate as a whole. There's an opportunity there for people to be reaching out to their state senators, calling, emailing them both on 1312 and its companion bill, 1309. So what do you think, Michael?
I'm grateful that Rebecca Kelty is going to be on to join us about this, because there was a little bit of drama. uh there was a little bit of drama at the Capitol, revolving around her and Julie Gonzalez, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So I'm excited to talk to her about that. I was in the room when it happened, and I was just absolutely flabbergasted that everything went down the way it did with her.
Awesome. Yeah, really looking forward to that, folks. So she should be joining us here shortly. So just going to give you some updates. And this is something I think maybe we roll out next year, Michael. It start off the first maybe half hour, obviously give the urgent stuff first. So if that's all people see, that's all they see. That's the most important takeaways, but kind of some updates too. And of course, there's so much happening this week. I mean, just a week ago, it's hard to believe how much has happened since we had our last live stream last Sunday night. Of course, the biggest news, one of the biggest victories for liberty this year at the state legislature was grassroots pressure ensuring that the governor's veto stood. And yeah, that's right, folks. Jared Polis was right for once. He was right for two times this year. Even a broken clock, right? So yeah, Senate Bill 86 was vetoed by the governor, went back to the House, and thanks to everybody out there, everybody in the grassroots in Colorado, reaching out to your legislators, reaching out to your senators, your representatives, your House members, and really causing some commotion on social media. The House decided to lay over the bill till May 9th, 2 days after the session is over. So they will not hear it. They will not vote on the veto. So really appreciate Senator Baisley's leadership on this. We had him on last week where he discussed it. And then, of course, really appreciate the efforts of everybody. Of course, Michael, you at the Libertarian Party of Colorado, so many other people involved. Leslie Hollywood at Rally for Our Rights, who was here a couple weeks ago, and the RMGO even as well. I mean, we had all the heavy hitters out there, all the grassroots raising awareness on how bad Senate Bill 86 was, and it failed. So awesome news. That was one of the most exciting things of this last week. What do you think, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, uh, yeah, we really caused some heads. I went down to the um, Capitol on Wednesday for the press conference that Scott Bottom held, as well as the 1213 hearing, as well as 1171. Uh, I ran into a couple legislators down there, and what they wanted to talk to me about was Senate Bill 86. So uh, we really respect a lot of the legislators down there. Sometimes they have bad bills, and this is what they wanted to talk about, and they wanted to clear the air with us because they knew how. unhappy we were with Senate Bill 86. So uh, we don't have any sort of ill will towards these individuals. We have a lot of respect for a lot of what they're doing, but as libertarians, this is just something we could not stomach. We could not, and I even understand where they were trying to come from. There were a lot of people that really cared about kids, but and that's where their heart was with this bill. But you can't use kids as a reason to strip us of our human liberty. So it's particularly innocent individuals. So um, um, at the end of the day, I that's why this bill got killed. For the most part, I thought people did a pretty good job of handling themselves well. They did reach out to me and let me know about a couple individual posts where they got a little offended by people calling, like, for example, one individual I talked to had a problem with the way Hartsook was referred to online as being anti-American, anti-patriot, anti-constitution, stuff like that. So, but yeah, and that's one thing that they call me about. But overall, not call me, but they talk to me about in person. So, but for overall, for the most part, people, I thought from what I saw, people were very respectful and people were very understanding. And I'm glad that people didn't cross the line and it got to the point where they said, "Hey, we see what's going on. We understand that there is a lot of pushback against this bill, and they decided to do the right thing and kill this." And as you can see, if you look at how this bill was voted on during third and final reading versus right here, where you see 31 people voting to lay this bill over, I could not have asked for a better result, and I'm super grateful for everybody and the hard work they put in with putting all the pressure on these people or on these
110%.
legislators.
110%, folks. And this is proof that you communicating with your state representative, your state senator matters. It does make a difference. I guarantee you, folks, without the public outcry, this bill would have passed. And if you don't know what Senate Bill 86 would have done, here's the shorthand version. The government deciding who can use social media. That's all you need to know. Now, don't get me wrong. They say, well, it's only people who are engaged in these specific activities, only people who are breaking the law. They haven't been convicted of anything, but somebody thinks they're breaking the law. So they shouldn't be allowed to use social media anymore. That is a scary place to be. We all remember those COVID years, but that's how bad Senate Bill 86, we won't go into it because we spent a lot of time on it last week. But great news, celebration, great victory. Round of applause for everybody there in the grassroots community here in Colorado for kicking so much butt there. There is little Heartsook and bass necker, bootlicker. I don't want to disparage anything about these gentlemen, but nonetheless, yeah, they lost and Liberty won that day, so that's good news.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very excited to see this bill go down. I think there's a big difference between saying, "Hey, somebody is somebody's about to do something dangerous, so we need to subpoena these social media records and get a warrant," and having quick turnaround times on that warrant versus, "Hey, we need to ban everybody forever from uh ever getting online again if they live in Colorado."
Definitely. Well, we do have our special guest joining us, so we'll pause the presentation for now, the slideshow, folks, and we got a lot more slides to cover. Really, we're going to give you an update on some of the most important bills this year, so please stay tuned, folks, after our interview here. But really appreciate it. We have freshman legislator, one of our Liberty leaders down at the state capitol. We have Representative Rebecca Kelty. How are you today?
Hi there. Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us, for taking time after a crazy week, a short weekend, and just an absolutely wild legislative session. So really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been this last week is just we thought we were going to actually work today, but by the grace of God, we didn't. It's one day less that they can push through. All these horrible bills through. So I'll take it. So thanks for having me on, and thanks and hello everyone. Oh, by the way, I'm Representative Kelty. I'm out of HD 16 in Colorado Springs.
And you had the slimmest of margins in your victory. Very thankful you're down there because you've been a lot of great votes, a lot of great bills that you put forward this year, and being a good voice. So, of course, one of the biggest controversies this last week was this 1312 bill, and we're all very curious. I know Michael was down there; he kind of saw what happened, but for people who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about that committee hearing and just what happened down there?
Yeah, that was fun. So, actually, so I'm on the House Judiciary, and they were holding the Senate Judiciary for 1312, and so I was done with my judiciary and my with my committee. So I went into one of my dearest friends was testifying against 1312, so I went in there, took her picture, and then was just standing in the back, minding my own little business. And as she finished, I just started walking out to meet her out, in the hallway and that. And I was walking along the back, and that's when the great old Senator Gonzalez decided to pipe up and basically kick me out of the committee, which, just so everyone knows, we have full reign on where we go. We can go in any of the rooms. I mean, it was a public meeting. I was off for the day. I could go. I'm a constituent. I'm a free American, and I can do whatever I want. And yeah, so she found it to be wanted to be, I guess, as unprofessional as she possibly could be, and showed her true colors and kicked me right out of there. So, and then afterwards, I thought, well, maybe I missed something, a memo, something. And I talked to our leadership, Representative Winters, and I told him, I said, am I not allowed to be? He goes, you can go anywhere you want. So this made him mad. So he goes in there, I go in there. And then when he went in there, was standing in the back, and I sat right in front of him. Um, Senator Winters, Faith Winters, she comes down and questions him why he's in there, why do we have to be in there? And so she didn't have it in her to kick him out because he's a big guy. But he basically said that he's in there because he wants to be, and and brushed her off. But yeah, Senator Gonzalez, shooed me away like a peasant, so that just goes to show how she feels about everybody else. So I felt bad about all the people that came and testified against that bill, and you could tell that it just meant so much to them. And I can my girlfriend who testified, who I went there to go see, which I had a lot of friends testify, but she said that they wouldn't even look at her. They wouldn't look up off I mean, they gave them zero respect. And thankfully, Scott Shamblin, he's one of the kids that goes around and really helps a lot with some of these bills. And he was videotaping, thankfully, because I don't think anyone would ever believe me. I don't think they'd ever believe me that she would behave in such a manner.
Rep Kelty, that was absolutely wild to be a part of, to see her pull her little shenanigans the entire time. I mean, not only, I mean, you guys can go back, watch the tape on YouTube if you're interested, because it's not YouTube, but Twitter. It's absolutely fascinating to see her her ahs, her pauses, her interruptions. She would just stop everybody to let everybody know how good of a job they're doing, and then she would stop everybody to know that they're doing terrible, and then admonish the crowd for 5 to 10 minutes. She did a I've never seen this one before. She had everybody get up and do a stretch break, and then she did another small little stretch break as well. Uh, and all of that, of course, counted against our 8 hours. She only whenever opposition. I talked to a few different people about this, but they were counting whenever the opposition was called up. She would call 5 names at a time, but whenever the supporters were called up, there were 6 people called up at a time. So and then another breakdown. I don't know if you guys know who Erin Meshke is, but she did a really good job. Her page is called The Reluctant Activist on Substack, and she did a little bit of a breakdown. Once everything was said and done, only 51% of the people who signed up to testify in favor of the bill were able to speak, but only 18% of the opposition was able to speak. Total opposition that was able to speak was 70 people out of 700 people that did speak up. So we're talking about what? 10% of the total population, or total number of people that testified. 6% of supporters. Oh yeah, and I already said that. So I thought it was absolutely fascinating to see her run a meeting quite like this. It was an absolutely mess from beginning to end. At one point in time, after you had already left and had your situation with her, she said that she magically ran out of a GOP list that was given to her, and then it became chaos for whenever the opposition was trying to speak, because she would sit there and take forever to point out person after person after person after person, and then there would be chaos because people would fill in these seats, and then she'd tell people that you didn't have to do that. She'd call out whoever she wanted to. Then she'd always pick from the front. So then that caused a lot of animosity because some people were moving up. With all of this, my question is, do you know if any discipline was taken against Julie Gonzalez for the way she ran this meeting, because it was an absolute disaster.
As far as the meeting is concerned, I'm not sure. I know that I formed a complaint against her through my leadership and through her leadership. If I don't hear something by tomorrow, I gave them to Monday. And if I don't hear anything, I am making a formal ethics complaint against her for the way that she at least how she treated me. If I'm the one who has to spearhead, something happening to her, I'll throw myself on that sword. I don't care, but something needs to happen. And this is how they've been running everything since they took over, to be honest. Thank God, I can just tell you, thank God they do not have a supermajority. Because as you know, with my election, that broke the three, that broke the supermajority. And so they would have had even more power. So no, something needs to happen. She's an absolute monster. I mean, she treats everyone like that and with such disrespect. It doesn't surprise me that she didn't hear from all the Republicans. She doesn't want to hear from them. It doesn't matter. And even in the committees that I go to in the House, we have these important bills, and the leadership, the chairs of all of these committees, like Judiciary and Business, which I'm in, but in Judiciary especially, they'll already have their closing statement made up. Like their minds are already made up. They already know how they're going to vote, and it's a shame because everyone goes there to be heard. And I know I hear you. I hear every single one. I try to, give all my attention that I can, but they don't. They just don't, and it just breaks my heart. But I don't want that to discourage people from coming, because every single person that comes and testifies, either in person or online, is part of the record. It's part of that record. And I have to be honest with you, people who submit written testimony, I've been there for 4 months. I have not seen not one written testimony yet, not one. So I think it's getting entered in the record. I'm not sure, but I do know that online testimony and in-person testimony, that's definitely part of the audio record. So please keep coming and help us. We need all the help we can get.
Definitely, definitely. Colorado needs a lot of help on our liberty, our wallets, our children, our family. We need a lot of help down there.
Uh,
So, Representative Kelty, being the first term that you've served down there, what surprised you? I mean, what are some of the takeaways from this legislative session, and what do people need to know? Because there's so much misunderstanding or maybe misconception about how things operate down there, and maybe so many unknowns. But what do the public, what do the people out here, our liberty-minded Coloradans, need to know about the legislative session? What have you learned in these last 4 months?
oh my God, how much time do we have? So for me, I guess the surprising thing, that because I was in the military for 21 years. I've worked in corporate America. I've worked with the Pentagon. I've worked with Border Patrol. I've worked with the Department of Homeland Security. I've worked with all these agencies. I've worked with, I mean, I'm always able to deal with things in a professional manner and and to work together, one team, one fight kind of thing, right? We have a mission and we achieve it. However, we fight in the back and we finish in the front and with professionalism, and that these people, I'm telling you, I've never seen a group of people that are so, like, I guess, for lack of a better term, evil. I feel it when I come in there. I pray. As soon as I enter the building, I pray. As soon as I enter that room, I pray. So while I'm in there, I'm praying. As I leave, I'm praying. Like I have never prayed so much in my life. And it's just the feeling and the fact that I went in there with an open mind of respect. I have lost almost all of them, except for maybe a few, but all respect. Like I can't even look at them in the face. It's very difficult for me to think that they even have a soul. I'm not even sure they even have a soul. and their eyes are just, I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but I'm telling you, these people are corrupt. And the amount of money that they're going through, it's like you get it's a fiscal note of zero. No, it's going to cost millions of dollars, but they cheat and they scheme and they scam, and your money in Colorado, every penny you give the state is not safe in the hands of these people. It's just not. We're paying for hippie camps. We're paying for, hundreds of brand new vehicles that they don't need. We're paying, I mean, I gave them $70 million of cuts they could make. Because that's what I do in the civilian world. I go through contracts. I look at every word. That's what I do. And I'm like, here you go, silver platter, $70 million worth of cuts just from me. And they just, no thanks. And they just threw it to the side. It's a shame. And I hate to say this, but it's almost like the state of Colorado needs to be burned to the ground and built from the top up. I hate to say that, but from the ashes of the fire will rise a phoenix. And that phoenix is going to be us. We are going to be that phoenix. But until we take it all the way down and we get these sons of guns out of there, I almost said a bad word. Anyways, get them out of there. I'm not sure what else we can do, but we have to be strategic when we fight for the next election, right? We need to meet them on their own ground. They need to be primaried on the Democrat side. We need to find conservative, believe it or not, they're out there, Kennedy style Democrats that will actually primary these wackadoodles, because they are insane. I'm telling you. I mean, the level of insanity just, oh my gosh. And the lack of safety or caring about just children. I mean, they support illegals over children, over Americans every single time. Criminals are more important to them than actually making sure the criminals don't do bad things to little kids. I mean, it blows my mind. Sorry.
No, I'm really glad you brought that up. One thing I'm always very curious about is, especially the freshman reps, freshman senators, hearing what it's like in the Capitol versus what they expected it to be like. Because there's just so much that we don't see, just the regular people that probably will never serve in the actual legislature itself. So it's fantastic to hear what it's like. But uh, I guess my question to you is, when it comes to these individuals um, that are crooked, that are super crooked, super corrupt, taking all this money from people. I mean, I know it's not just on the Democratic side. There's, that's going to happen on the Republican side too. But when it comes to these individuals who are taking all this money, I mean, what would you say is the best way to make a change? Is there something that people can support, some type of legislation that you would recommend for us to support to really get our get this under control in Colorado?
I would like to say there would be some, but to be honest with you, anything that we put up, I mean, unless it falls along their agenda or doesn't mess with their agenda, they'll consider. But I mean, the bills that we put up, they steamroll right over them. I mean, um, it doesn't matter. Like they will kill whatever they're told to, and it doesn't matter. I had a bill that one of the Democrats actually came to one of the other Democrats in the Health and Human Services committee, and she's like, I really liked Kelty's bill. And so the Republican, the rep that was in there, she's like, well, why did you vote against it? And she said, because we were told to. So they're told to basically kill Republican bills as much as they possibly can. So I could bring up the most common sense, fiscally minded bill that would save the state of Colorado $1 billion, and they would still kill it. It doesn't matter. They'll still kill it. They have an agenda, and they will not allow us to disrupt it in any. We need help. We need, like, President Trump is coming after them. Right now, he's suing the state of Colorado for the immigration thing. We need more of that. We need them to doge. The entire state of Colorado needs to be doged. Seriously. I mean, and I'm telling you, we will find a ton of $17,000 hammers and, $20,000 toilet seats. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we would find that, but they won't let you do it. They won't. And some of the people, like Ken DeGraff is really good. Representative DeGraff is really good at the, finding the numbers and the math, and then going in there. And we found a lot of stuff that they're actually it's like a shell game. It's a shell game with our money. Like, oh, you don't see it over here. They shiny thing over here while they're taking over here. And it's a shame. We need an outside source to come in and help us here in Colorado, or we need to get them out. It's got to be one or the other. But I feel bad for the people of Colorado, because there's 22 of us up there fighting our asses off every day. And it's not just, and we're not focusing on just one thing, just 2A or just parents' rights or just this or just, we're focusing on 1,000 things. We're fighting 1,000 different wars in 1,000 different ways. And it's trying to keep all that together while they're coming at you and just, fighting you the entire way. We tried doing a bill. I don't mean to take up your time, but we tried doing a bill. Brandy Bradley, Rep Bradley, she put a bill, because in the state of Colorado right now, if someone sexually molests or sexually assaults a 5-year-old, a child, they'll get probation. They could sexually assault 5-year-olds and still just get probation. If they hurt one of them more than once, then that's a problem. So we're like, okay, this whole thing's a problem. So Rep Bradfield brought a bill saying, look, if you touch a child just one time, you go to jail. And we'll start low. How about 2 years? I think they should get, you don't want to know what I think they should get, but I'm telling you, I've got a whole box of it here, in a drawer. But we're saying, just give them a little bit of jail time, whatever. And they said no. They said it was unfair to the pedophile who sexually molested a child, because the pedophile has to live with it for the rest of his life, that he harmed a child. I'm like, what do you think the child has to live with? Are you kidding me? And then their other argument was that a pedophile, if they go to jail, they might get raped. And I'm like, problem solved. So, I'm hardcore with that. I'm like, you touch a child, I'm not sure why you're still breathing. So I want, but they killed the bill. They killed it in support of the criminal over a child. And that's what they're doing with the immigration bill as well. They're supporting the illegals over legal migrants and Americans. They're saying, you know what, these people who are trying to do it the right way, who have paid all this money, who have waited all this time, screw you. We're going to let the illegals in, and we're going to give them free housing. We're going to give them free college. We're going to give them free food. We're going to give them, free, everything free, and they get a driver's license. And oh, by the way, on the driver's license, you're not going to be able to tell if they can or cannot vote. That was an amendment that I tried pushing. And I'm like, look, at least make it so where if they get a state ID, it shows that they cannot vote. Oh no, we can't do that to them. Why not? They're not supposed to vote. It's a whole thing. And the puzzle pieces are all coming together. We are a sanctuary state. We are a super sanctuary state at this point. So we need intervention. We need an intervention. So I'm sorry to talk so much. I could talk to you for hours about everything that I've seen. I am going to have an end of the session town hall, so maybe some of you guys can come then, and we can just, if I can sneak in some beer.
I love it.
We need
I love it. I got a quick follow up on something you said. You were talking about the $17,000 hammers. Is there something that we could possibly core to find out where that's at? Are there ways that we could possibly find out, not necessarily on a legislative level, but at least maybe like a sleuth kind of citizen journalist could look in the right possible area and determine where we're wasting a lot of money?
I think so. I have my long book bill book thing. I'm taking everything with me. If you guys want to go through all that stuff line by line, but here's the thing. When we were going through the long bill is the budget for the state. They're like, well, we're only presenting to you a portion of the budget. The rest of it is set. And I'm going, hold on here. We're the purse strings for the state. We should be seeing every single item that you are spending money on, everything. And they didn't present it. They just passed it along. And I'm like, why are we not seeing all this? Because I yelled at every department and I yelled at everybody about where the money is going. Why do you need this money? And actually, they nicknamed me, the Democrats nicknamed me. And I think they meant it as a slight, but they named me the fiscal shark because I was so like, just nailing everybody on everything. But in the end, it didn't matter because they did what they wanted anyways. They got the money for whatever they wanted, whatever crazy idea. Even the governor got 1.4 1.2 billion, or not billion, $1 million. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's $1.5 million for a special seat little garden he wants to have at the mansion, at the governor's mansion. But yeah, we couldn't find money. 70,000, that's 1.5 million. They were going to cut a $70,000 project that helped with kidney disease prevention. So you're going to cut that program so the governor can have flowers in his garden. Oh, okay. Make that make sense. And they wanted to cut from the kids programs. And they did. They cut from a lot of that stuff and they're blaming us. And I'm like, hold on. There's only 22 of us. We got steamrolled over everything. We gave them millions, tens of millions of dollars of cuts. And they just didn't care. They just don't care. But I tell you what, you probably can. If you get a journalist in there, someone that's got like the mindset of like Elon Musk, and his people that can get in there, I would core the crap out of everything. Because I really think the people of Colorado, you need to know every penny where your money is going, because that's your money. That's not the state's money. That's not the House or Senate's money. That's the people's money, and they are wasting it. And I think you guys, you need to know. You need to know everywhere it's going. And they only present a little bit to us. We don't even know. I don't even know. I just know that the stuff that I did find that they let us look at.
Wow. No, I think the garden story and other things like that are great material for the public to be aware of. That could be campaign ads. I mean, that's such good information for sure. That kind of stuff needs to come out and exposing just how misguided the agenda is up there. But Representative Kelty, what was your biggest surprise? I mean, what was your biggest surprise coming in? I know you talked a little bit about the lack of respect or understanding. Maybe, I know you said maybe how evil they are might be the biggest surprise. But what else? What's really surprised you, or what would maybe surprise just the common person watching this, the average Coloradan, about what happens down there under the Gold Dome?
Um, I there's so many. I guess the like how messed up Colorado is. I have to. It's. I mean, so many people. I mean, they're talking about leaving the state. They don't know if it's. I mean, without us turning around elections. I mean, we have 30% of Republicans that didn't vote. You know what I mean? So people have got to get off their butts, get off their couches, get their ballots in, and I am surprised about the amount of protests that are like the people who are for the trans or anti-parents movement, for the illegals, they organize and protest a lot. Our people, granted we got jobs, but we really need to organize, and the people of Colorado, if you truly don't like what's going on, you want to take back your state, then do something. Everyone complains about it, like I hear a lot of this, but no action. And it's not until a bill like 1312 pops up, or a bill, even the immigration bill, there wasn't a lot of people for that, and it's like, but everyone's against it. So it's like, y'all, you just we need to do better as conservatives in the state of Colorado. You've lost your state, and unless you do something, us 22, there's only so much we can do. It's you that have the power. And I really want the people of Colorado, if you want your state back, by God, go get it. You better start doing something now, because if they're in there any longer, I hear Iowa's a nice state. I don't know, Tennessee. I don't know. But all I know is we have darn near lost our state. I guess that's probably my biggest surprise. I didn't realize how far gone it was, to be honest. Sorry for the doom and gloom, but that's just the reality of it.
I'm glad you brought that up. I see it all the time online, people whining, complaining, saying Colorado's lost, but they didn't do anything while we were getting to this point. So I guess my question to you is, how do we wake these people up? They can clearly see what's going on. So what is the best way to get these people to start getting involved before it is actually too late? Because I mean, I don't think we're to that point yet where Colorado is forever lost, but we are in a real situation because of the inaction of the past. So, how do we get people to take that next step to actually get activated?
Um, well, I guess kind of follow the Democrat plan, right? Get your activists out there, form activist groups. We have to use strategy. We have to be tactical, actually, in a military fashion. We have to, um, I wish I had a magic wand that could fix everything. But if without the action, run for office for God's sake. I mean, we had Democrats that went unopposed that won their seats. We need to identify. And I'm telling you, I don't care. I will take a 50% or Republican, like a Democrat who's like a conservative Democrat, over some of these guys. I mean, it's the insanity. It just is mind boggling. So if we can get a Kennedy Democrat that can primary these other Democrats in theirs, waste up their money, spend their money, we've got it. We've got to organize. Republicans are really unorganized in this state, y'all. Y'all get it together. Let's take it back. You can do it, but it's going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to take money. It's going to take a lot of money. But how important is it to you? What do you want to hand down to your kids? What do you want to hand down to your grandchildren? Because right now we're handing them down a big stinking pile of poo, and this is such a beautiful state. Other than burning it down, then that would be the easy part. That'd be the easy thing. Just let them do what they want to do, and it will just implode. But do we want to do that? Or do you want to fight? Do you want to get off your butt? Do you want to actually run for office, help campaigns, get your ballot in? The easiest thing you could actually do is just get your ballot in and fill out all the bubbles. I guess this last election, we had tons of people who just filled out Trump's bubble and didn't fill out anything else. I'm like, what? You don't care about your state? If you don't fill out the rest of it, you don't have grounds to complain. Then just zip it, because if you're not going to actually do something about it. So in the military, I was in, for a long time. For my sailors, I always told them, I said, if you've got a complaint, you can come with me to me about anything, but you better have a suggestion of a solution. You better have an idea of how to fix a problem that you're complaining about. Otherwise, you're just whining, and I don't have time for that. So I kind of see that for the Republican Party or the conservatives in Colorado. Stop your whining and let's fix things. Let's get together and do it, and stop fighting with each other. Having all the Republicans just argue and bicker and fight, and all these factions of, I'm better than you are and I'm more wholesome than you are, and knock it off. Knock it off, because guess what? That has now lost our state. So if we can just leave your feelings at the door, come into the war room and devise a plan and stick to it. Whether you like it or not, 100%, you're not, it's about the team, it's about the fight, and it's about winning the war in the end.
Wow. Very, very powerful stuff. No, really appreciate it.
Sorry.
Really appreciate the military mindset about it. And I 100% agree with the tactics, the strategy. The Democratic primaries, I think, is one of our big untapped resources or avenues of attack for sure. We have open primaries in Colorado, and I know the Republicans hate that. Most Republicans, a lot of the grassroots, let me rephrase that. Some of the grassroots conservative Republicans really want to try and still get rid of open primaries, but there's an opportunity there for liberty-minded individuals, whether they're unaffiliated, Democratic leaning, or even third party like libertarians, to get involved in these primaries on some level. You know what I mean? So I think there is a big opportunity there, and I really appreciate you saying that, because I think that's some next level strategy that needs to be done. But Representative Kelty, we got a year. Thankfully, this session's almost over, but we got a year till January 2026 when we have the next legislative session. What advice do you have, or what can people do to be an effective voice down at the Capitol? You know, we do these live streams every week to encourage people to show up to committee hearings, to try and provide some education and empower people to have a voice so they know what's going on. They can have those conversations with their neighbors, have their conversations with with their legislators, with their representatives. But what do you see being down there this year? Do you see any specific strategies for just grassroots, liberty-minded Coloradans to have an influence during the next legislative session?
If I may make a suggestion, it's how you go about and play the game, right? So, threatening people, I mean, or coming too hard on the Democrat legislation, um, or legislators, probably isn't going to win you any points, right? So my mother had a saying, you can get more with honey than you can with vinegar. So, my mother was a very smart woman, Rosie, and so what Rosie said, meant something. So, I think that we have to change the way, because what we've been doing isn't working. Just testifying does help. Um, but you have to testify using their words. Like, we keep pushing, I had a conversation with my son about this, and he was right. We keep pushing the religion. They don't care about religion. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about, but they care about feelings and stories and all the fluffy stuff. Let's start using their words against them. Let's start using the way they think against them. And not that, I'm religious as well. I'm a Christian, all that stuff. And believe me, that's always in the back, right here in my head. But if I start going down that road, they turn you right off. You're off. So don't let them turn you off. Start learning how they say things and how they word things, and do it that way. And you did mention about the elections. I did want to mention one thing. So if I think that, we could get libertarians in there, but you just can't have an L by your name. You have to have either a D or an R. It'd be great if you had a D next to your name, because then we could just wipe them out, like wipe them all out. You know what I mean? So if we could get them, if we got a lot of unaffiliated, because they look at that, what was your prior, if we got unaffiliated, conservative unaffiliated that could run and primary and maybe take over some of those seats. I don't care what letter you have behind your name. I care about doing the right thing. I care about following the Constitution. I care about, listening to the voices of the people and following the rule of law. That's what I care about. And so the term rhino, right? Everyone's uses the out rhino, they're a rhino, right? Well, I came up with a new term. How about a dino? We need dinos to run. And then, keep the Republican people in there, and then bring these dinos in, and we might actually fix this doggone state, right? I don't know. It's just an idea.
So so here's a question I got for you. We brought up what we should do come 2026 as a constituency. What about what's going to happen in 2026 legislative session? Are there any rumblings that you've heard early on about proposed bills that could come up next legislative session that we might have to worry about or be concerned about? Or on the flip side, is there actually any good legislation that you're hearing about that could be proposed for 2026?
I wish. Yeah, from us, there's good legislation coming out, but from that, there were some bills that they were going to bring back. Gosh, we've gone through so many. We go through like 50, 60 bills a day. Like, it's so, like, after a week, I'm not even sure what day it is anymore. There is some legislation, and what I'll do is, I'm having my aides help me go through all the bills that we've gone through, and I'm putting them in binders. I'm taking them with me. And I want to, bills that have passed, bills that have failed. Some of them that have failed, they're actually going to bring back. Wow, gosh, my mighty, what was the last one we just heard? My gosh, Rebecca, I'm so sorry. There are some, I can give them to you though. But yeah, no, there some of the bills that they had to put aside, they're going to bring back. and they're going to probably be worse than they were before. You can expect anti-2A bills. You can expect so 1312. They were really upset about that one because they kind of gutted it, and the Democrats were not happy with that at all. So expect another bill to come to even what they took out to add it back in again. So expect that. For the Second Amendment one, I can't remember the number of the bill, but they had gutted that one as well. It was I think it was the gun show one. That it was seven, was it? I don't remember all the numbers. It was the gun show one, or was the one we just had? I think it was 73 or 80,
86.
86. That's it. 86. And so they did take some stuff out of that, but you bet your bippy they're going to be putting it back in again. I mean, they'll keep doing that kind of stuff. And there was another bill by Woodrow he was going to put in to where it limited, and he was going to do it this session, but I think they ran out of time. But it limits the amount of guns that an individual can own. Like that, you can only have this many guns, and that's it. It's like, what? So they just never stop. Crazy never sleeps. It never sleeps. It never rests. So we have to do a better job of keeping watch, right? We did switch on and off. But yeah, no, I completely expect that stuff to come up this next session. I have no doubt. I think that he just ran out of time to run that one. So yeah. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's the worst job I've ever had.
Yeah, it's tough, but really appreciate you fighting for stepping up, as a harrowing victory that you had in 2024, and really excited that you made it through. Looking forward to you being down there next year as well, and best efforts. But I know you got a busy 3 days ahead of you, so we'll let you go here. But any final thoughts, any other final words or pieces of advice for Liberty-minded Coloradans out here?
I would. So when we get blasted a lot, and sometimes we're not sure like why we're being blasted. It's like but it helps that if someone sees something in a bill that maybe we're missing, because they're really good. They're really good at putting things like in between the lines and in between those lines. So it's like we try to like pay attention to everything, but like I said, we're fighting 1,000 wars on 1,000 different fields. So if you guys see something, let us know. Like just email, say, hey, I don't know if you caught this, but in this bill, in this, this 80-page bill, in this section, these 2 lines say this, because sometimes we can miss it and we don't mean to. It's just that it's a fire hose there. It's just literally like so much coming at you all at once. You know what I mean? Especially as freshmen. And not that that's an excuse when we're adults and we can, read. But when I have to read, 60 to 70 bills in a night, there's something's probably going to get missed, or because you're fighting all these battles. So if you guys see something, let us know ahead of time, not after the fact, because after the fact, whoops, so I don't want to have an oops. So if there's something you want me to see, or any of us, let us know ahead of time so we can look at it the way you're looking at it, because sometimes we get tunnel vision, and it's good to have extra eyes on something. So help us out that way. That'd be great.
Awesome. I can't let you go without talking about this one last thing. I heard you did a lot of stakeholding recently during the veto override process for Senate Bill 86. You're the only person I've ever heard of going out and tell me if this is true or not, but what I heard was you went and knocked about 30 doors, just specifically asking them their opinion on Senate Bill 86 from your own district, just to get their opinion on what you should do for them. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because that's the first time I've ever heard of somebody doing a legislator doing door knocking mid-session. I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, because it was such a hard bill that, you've got this side, you've got that side, and I could tell that I wanted them to decide. I'm like, you know what? This is more than what I should be deciding. This should go to the voice of the people. And I don't have the option of putting on a ballot. So I just went door knocking. I not only went door knocking, I stopped people on the sidewalk when they're walking their dogs. I I asked, the guy driving down the street, I stopped him in the middle of the road. I asked everyone I could possibly ask, and find out their opinion. Because if it comes to the point where I'm unsure which way to go, then the best way is to take it to the people and let them tell me what they want. Because really, I work for them. I don't work for Rebecca Kelty, and it's not. I don't know more than my constituents know. I'm just the face and the voice and the vote that gets to push the button. So I really think more reps should do that. If you have something where it could go either way, or maybe just do it on bills, even if they're not contentious. You know what I mean? And at least know the voice of the people, because sometimes you can get lost, and sometimes you can lose the vision of the people because you're fighting so many wars, and it kind of grounds you again, like, oh yeah, that's right, that's how, and sometimes it changes. Sometimes, you've seen my district, right? It's like 50-50. So I need to hear from everybody. So no, I was glad to do that. Actually, it helped me a lot knowing that I was making the right decision, because I thought it was going to come out the other way. I totally thought they were going to be like, yes, do it. And I was 100%. Democrats and Republicans and unaffiliated all said no. And I'm like, thank you. So that was it. That answered the question. I didn't have to lose sleep over it anymore. I was doing what the people wanted.
Wonderful, wonderful. We do have somebody in the chat saying, Brian Flanagan says, Colorado Springs appreciates you, Representative Kelty,
Oh,
and lots of other kind words in there. So really appreciate you taking the time. We'll let you get your rest, but keep up the good fight these last 3 days. And thank you for everything. And I hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
thanks, guys. I so appreciate you, and have a great, great night. And reach out anytime.
Wonderful. Take
All right.
care.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was definitely a lot of fun. Appreciate you asking about Senate Bill 86. And of course, so many other questions and so many issues we could have talked about, but I really appreciated her insight as a freshman legislator, kind of what she saw. And not that I'm surprised that she called them evil, because I'm sure we've called them worse than that, not so I'm shocked, but wow. Yeah. And just the looking in their eyes and seeing what you see. And it's like, it's wild. I mean, it is wild. And her question, I really appreciated her answer to the question of what surprised her, just how bad it is. And I think that's so true. And I think that's part of the reason why the Democrats have gotten away with what they've gotten away with so far, is because most people just don't understand how bad it is. And sometimes they think you're speaking hyperbole. You tell your neighbor, "Oh my gosh, did you see what they're trying to do down there?" And they don't believe you because it's so crazy. And that's just how insane and extreme it's gotten. So, hopefully people are starting to wake up. But what were your impressions, Michael?
Well, my first thought was, I'm so glad that she's the one that signed our pledge, because of all the people to sign, I know we had a deal with Woog, we also had a deal with Ryan Gonzalez, and I know you did a ton to help Ryan Gonzalez get in his seat, and that was a huge help for us. But Kelty, Kelty is the one that signed the pledge. She is the only one that from the House or the Senate that actually signed the pledge, and she's the at least that made it through the primary, and she's the one that won. And as we were saying earlier, she won by 3 votes. Absolutely phenomenal. And I could not be more thrilled with the fact that Rebecca Kelty is the one that signed the pledge, and she got in there and she's doing what she's doing for Colorado. I think she's phenomenally underrated as a legislator. I mean, does she have the most perfect record? No, but I don't think there's anybody when you're dealing with 731 votes that's going to have the most perfect record. I mean, I want to see 100. That's a perfect record on From Liberty scorecard, and not even the best. I mean, look at DeGraff, Bottoms, Bradley. They don't even have 100. So I'm really excited for what she's going to do, and especially when you think about Kelty versus Stephanie Vigil. That's one of the biggest upgrades we have in the entire state from a legislator perspective. So I'm very, very happy with what she's doing and what she's done, and I hope she can get in, she can stay in that seat, and people support her, so that way we can win from a libertarian perspective, from a liberty perspective overall. Because what matters most, is it liberty, or the D or the R or the L next to your name when you're in the legislature? So. Um, I want to see, and for me personally, I want to see liberty win, and that's the big thing. And if we can influence towards liberty, that's a win for Colorado.
100%. Yeah, just as much as, these Republicans are willing to be a little bit more pro-liberty than maybe we've seen in the past, having Democrats do it. I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, like everybody was saying, like she said, like you said, I don't care if it's a Republican, a Democrat, whoever. If they're pro-liberty, if they want to defend our Second Amendment rights, they want to defend Tabor, they want to stand up for businesses, they want to stand up for the people and for taxpayers, then I don't care what party they are. And that's kind of the mindset I think we need to get to, which she talked about with the Democratic primaries. I mean, we really need to get past that and not left versus right. It's authoritarianism versus libertarianism, and ultimately having a groundswell of liberty activism within all the parties is what it's going to take. So awesome. But we got more to cover, folks. Don't go anywhere. We won't go the full duration tonight, but we got a lot more. Michael, you ready to jump back into the slides here?
Let's do it.
Right on. Yeah, folks, we're going to give you an update on the most important bills still going through the session, still going through the legislature, and we're going to give you some more information here uh about the bills that failed this year, that died, the bills that are signed by the governor, the bills that passed. So you're going to kind of get this little final wrap up here this week, folks, of the few remaining bills, and then have that information about what made it through. So let's jump into it here. That's where we left off there with Senate Bill 86. Great news as well. House Bill 1303. This is one I expect to come back. This is the one that Frank Learns wrote the article about that I published at freestatecolorado.com, talking about 1303, where it was basically would have increased everybody's insurance rates here in Colorado to pay for all this ridiculous bike trails and lanes and this and that, some infrastructure to supposedly help people out by increasing everybody's bills. So that bill did die, thankfully. So good news there. Another little bit of a victory. And then, Michael, I took these off your X account there, taking pictures of 1312, and you were down there for that rally. Of course, this is one of the big news stories of the week. A lot of people showed up. 700 people showed up to testify. Look at those lines going into the old Supreme Court, as you had posted, and just absolutely crazy. And so sad that not everybody got to have their voice heard. That's always one of the more frustrating things with a situation like this, is that not everybody who took the time to participate didn't have their voice heard. So, any other thoughts on 1312, Michael?
Yeah, very, very disappointing to see the shenanigans that they played. I mean, I knew that if they let this thing, if they were to let people speak fairly, that this thing, that 1312 would die. But you even heard beforehand that they were getting ready to play games. I mean, there was not, why should one side that was essentially, out supported 5-1 get equal time to the people that are so predominantly opposed to this bill? I mean, and the numbers called it out as well. I mean, only 18% of the individuals that signed up to testify against were able to speak, yet over half the people that signed up to speak in favor of it were able to testify. That's not a fair way to do things in Colorado. And um, clearly they didn't care about that if you actually go back and watch the hearing.
Yeah, and in the comments, Missy says they exposed themselves, which 100% they did. They are tyrants, pretending otherwise. Another great news from this last week, folks, was Senate Bill 77. This was the other bill that Jared Polis got right by vetoing. This would have weakened our Colorado Open Records Act, CORA. One of the most cornerstones of a representative government is for the public to know what our government is doing. What are they doing with our money? What are they doing in their elected positions? What are these people who work for us spending their day doing? And thankfully, the governor vetoed Senate Bill 77, which would have made it harder for individuals to have access to government documents, government records, our Open Records Act. And, there was some concern there that they might try and override this veto, because obviously it passed through the House and the Senate once. It probably could have gotten the 2/3 if they would have put all their time and effort into it. But thankfully, it did die. In the Senate, this last Friday, On May 2nd, just a couple days ago, they postponed the bill to be heard until after the session was over, effectively killing the bill. So good stuff there. And yeah, Representative Matt Soper, a very disappointing Republican. And of course, I'd say on the Democratic side, Kathy Kipp has definitely moved up my list to be near the worst. If she's probably the worst senator we have, honestly, down there, and that's saying a lot when you got Weissman and some of these other people. But Kathy Kipp is, and Julie Gonzalez, obviously, but Kathy Kipp, oh my gosh, she was apparently livid that that her Cora bill died, that a lot of her other stuff died, but she's been behind so much of the bad legislation this year. It's horrible, bad stuff. So really thankful that Senate Bill 77 died. Any thoughts on this, Michael?
Uh, I don't have anything else to add on this one. I'm grateful that this one died. Um, this is one of those that we've talked about in the past where Soper loves to hop on a lot of Democratic bills. This is definitely one of those that he helped prime sponsor.
Yeah, yeah, Soper needs to be held accountable for it. And not to dismiss what Representative Kelty was saying about unity and coming together, but at the same time, folks, it's policy. It's all about policy, and it's bad policy. And if you have any, whether Republican or Democrat sponsoring bad policy, they need to be held accountable and they need to be exposed. The other big bill this week, so this was just yesterday and the day before, Senate Bill 276, which we mentioned. But, I know immigration in libertarian circles, there's a lot of mixed thoughts about it, of course, but I would say that the idea that Colorado taxpayers are spending money on these illegal immigration services, like as Representative Max Brooks pointed out here, that's a problem. And then Representative Ty Winter says here as well that they're diverting taxpayer dollars to non-citizens while turning their backs on hardworking Coloradans. I think that's ultimately the problem, regardless of what you think about open borders, closed borders, immigration. The fact that our taxpayer money we work so hard for, we work our butts off away from our families, away from our homes to earn a good life for our families and ourselves. And then to see that money stolen from us by these greedy government officials and then give it to all these little special programs, including all these illegal immigration programs. I mean, it's wrong, 100%. And I think everybody should be able to get behind that. So bad stuff, 110%. Any thoughts on 276, Michael?
I think you pretty much covered it all. I mean, if you guys can, I mean, this is just going to put Colorado in a worse position. I mean, regardless of how you feel about the whole immigration situation, when you look at this bill alone, this is just going to put Colorado in a worse situation.
110%, 110%. The whole immigration issue has been weaponized against the people. And that's what a lot of these, I see, open borders, libertarians, a lot of the think tank people and stuff like that. Like, of course, in general, people should be able to go where they want, right? If they're peaceful people welcomed in different places, but at the same time, they don't. The current situation that we're in right now is that these illegal immigration policies, these open border policies, have been weaponized to undermine our society ultimately. So without getting more into that, also this week, here we go. Here's Do Better Denver. If you guys don't follow Do Better Denver, it's one of the best accounts out there. Posting here, hey, Pam Bondi and Donald Trump, add this bill to your complaint filed against Denver and Colorado. Every one of these legislators who voted yes should be arrested for interfering with federal immigration authorities. This bill allows criminal migrants to vacate their guilty convictions. This should be illegal, protecting criminal migrants and granting them special privileges, 110%. Libs of TikTok, their 4 million account. If 4 million people follow Libs of TikTok, folks, on X. This post got 205,000 views since this morning at 10:42. And I took the screenshot, a couple hours ago. Democrats in Colorado just passed Senate Bill 276. The bill restricts local officials from working with ICE, limits where ICE can operate, and prevents police from keeping illegals in prison for ICE. Tom Homan should pay them a visit. 100%. It's like Missy's in the comments saying, yep, weaponized is the right word for sure. Any other thoughts?
I mean, when it comes to, I mean, I don't know why any libertarian would have a problem with, um, I want to be careful with my words here. I don't I can understand where open borders libertarians are coming from in a lot of situations, but when it comes to criminals who have committed violent crimes, I don't understand why it's so controversial to help to protect society from rapists and murderers. I get if you want to make a due process claim. I mean, that makes sense. Uh, do, uh, Due process is due process. There's a reason why we have due process in our country. But when it comes to keeping people who are going to harm innocent civilians off the streets, that shouldn't be a controversial topic.
Yep, I completely agree there. So, folks, let's get an update here on the bills we've been tracking throughout the legislative session. So, this is kind of where they're at. These are the bills still pending. So, it's a very short list. It's the shortest it's been, of course, probably since week one. But this is kind of to give people that last minute update. These are bills that are still going through the process, and the process is going to end here on Wednesday. So House Bill 1127, we were all happy about this bill. We had Representative Barone, Senator Pelton on before. This is to register and drive surplus military vehicles. It was a small win for Liberty, but nonetheless a pro Liberty bill. And it's just been stalled out in appropriations, just been sitting there. So I'm doubtful. Now appropriations is meeting tomorrow, Monday morning, so there's a chance they could hear it and get it to the House floor there, but I'm doubtful it's going to make it all the way through the process because I don't think it's obviously not a massive priority for the Democratic leadership to get this one through. But nonetheless, there's that there. Any thoughts on that one, Michael?
I'm hoping it gets through. It seems like it's less and less likely that's going to with this being the end of the session. Also, it's not going to be like a super high priority, but I'd like to see it get through it if we could. I mean, we ripped on Pelton for his bad bills, but I think this is a good bill, and I think Pelton should get some praise for this one. Senator Byron Pelton, that is.
Yep. And then we got one. Maybe we'd throw throw a little dirt. What do you call it? Throw shade at him on this one. House Bill 1287 and Representative Caldwell as well. The social media tools for minor users and parents. This hopefully does get stalled out. You know, social media has become the big boogeyman. There was three big bills this year to kind of regulate and go after social media. I get it. There's problems. Kids are being there's predators preying on kids there. Obviously, of course, that's been going on for 30 years since the internet was widely available to people, commercially available. So it's nothing new. Everybody should know better by now. We don't need the government to come in and try and solve the problem because they're not going to. All they're going to do is create regulations where they have more control, and it's not good stuff. So hopefully this bill stalls out. It's also on the appropriations calendar there, so we'll see what happens. Any thoughts on that one?
I had a good conversation on Thursday. I went to the Moms for Liberty Town Hall. And it was a fantastic time. I got to speak with Rep Caldwell, and I mean, I know us libertarians and him will have a little bit of different. Uh, we might have different views on social media tools, but Rep Bradley was there as well, and I really like what Rep Bradley said last week regarding Senate Bill 86, and I think it applies to 1287 as well. And it's at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the parent to parent. I get where Rep Caldwell. I talked about this a little bit ago. I get where Rep Caldwell and a lot of these other people are coming from when they want to protect kids and stuff. I think that's a very noble ideal to want to protect kids, but at the same time, parents need to have the right to protect their kids as well and do what's best for the kid. That also comes with the responsibility of letting parents be parents, and the parents need to have the ability to protect the kids. So I think 1287 is going to harm parental rights uh, in spite of its noble ideals.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't make it through for
Absolutely.
sure. So some other bills, folks, of course, 1312. We talked a lot about that tonight and in previous weeks. This is the transgender your kid bill or you lose custody. Uh, Being heard tomorrow, Monday, May 5th on the Senate floor. So we'll see what happens there. And then it does have to go to the House for the House to approve the amendments done in the Senate. So we'll see what happens, but most likely this bill's getting through. And then 1209, which is the big marijuana bill. They changed a lot of law. This bill's been heavily amended. There's a lot to it. Originally had a provision to increase the purchase limit to 2 ounces instead of one, but it looks like that was stripped out or amended out. That's going to be heard on Wednesday on the House floor. So I think it went through the Senate. Now it's coming back to the House. So this bill could make it through this year. So from what I understand, there's some good stuff in this bill, but yeah. Any thoughts on either of these?
Uh, yeah. I think 13-12. I mean, we still have a fight. We still have a chance, and uh, I'm really hoping that that one can get killed by Governor Veto. But I'm also very concerned that there's been enough changes to that one that they're setting up the framework for um, Polis to not veto it this year, and then they add in everything that they already pulled out this session during the Senate Judiciary Committee and run another bill to add everything back in next legislative session. So that's one we're going to have to really um, look out for during 2020 during the 2026 legislative session in the weeks leading up to that session.
Yeah, good points. And it's so interesting because sometimes you see a bad bill get amended to be not so bad, and it's like you almost wish they wouldn't have amended it because you want it to be worse because the chances of it failing are increased. The chances of it being defeated by a veto or by a lawsuit are increased. But when they make these bad bills slightly better, they're still bad bills, but they're just harder to attack and harder to go after, unfortunately. And we do see that happen sometimes.
And one last thing that we should mention is, as much as they've gutted that bill, it's still a really terrible bill, especially for because they left a lot of the dead naming language in, and they're still going to try to add it to kata, and that makes me very concerned by for somebody like Jack Phillips of Masterpiece Cake Shop, and they've been trying to attack him every single chance they can, and I have a feeling that they're going to try to attack him again because these people, as Rep Kelty was saying, they never stop. Crazy doesn't stop. Well, Crazy's not going to stop attacking Jack Phillips because then he's going to end up being a political martyr.
Yeah, great point. Great point there. The Senate Bill 5, that's the big one, the big union bill. So being heard on the House floor tomorrow, it's supposed to be. So we'll see what happens there. That'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Then Senate Bill 72, which is in House appropriations now. It wasn't on the calendar for Monday, but I would not be surprised if they add it. So I emailed everybody on the House Appropriations Committee and asked them to please kill this bill. I'm really hoping that other people do as well. Reach out to the members of the House Appropriations and try and get them to stop Senate Bill 72. Any thoughts on these two?
Especially, I mean, I have hope for Senate Bill 5. I have a little bit of hope, more hope than I've had all session, but I still expect to see it to get killed. But I would just hope that people reach out to their senator, their reps, uh, in the General Assembly and try to get these things killed. Let them know your thoughts.
Yep, 100%, 100%. This one, of course, we talked about the biggest alert of the week. It's still on the calendar for Monday, so we'll see the Tabor lawsuit to repeal Tabor through lawsuit bill. So people please reach out on that one. And then another big one, which we haven't talked about yet, is the Transportation Network Company Consumer Protection. This is the bill that Uber said they might leave Colorado if this bill passes. House Bill 1291, scheduled to go on the Senate floor tomorrow. I really hope that bill dies, but unfortunately, we'll see. We'll see. Any thoughts, Michael?
I agree. I mean, a lot of people need supplemental income in Colorado, and with the legislature constantly attacking business, it makes it harder for businesses to thrive, and therefore hurts individual incomes. And there's a lot of people that supplement their income after the legislature killed a lot of business with Uber, and they drive Uber part time just to kind of help out their family as well. If this one if this one passes, well, guess what? It's going to be a lot harder for a lot of families to make a living in Colorado.
Well said, sir. Yes, 100%. Senate Bill 276, of course, passed the House yesterday on third reading. It's back to the Senate for approval of those House amendments, so we'll see how that goes. House Bill 1309, this is kind of the companion bill to 1312, where basically your insurance is going to have to pay for transgender surgeries and all that kind of stuff, hormones and this and that. Also being heard on the Senate floor on Monday. Any thoughts on either of these?
I mean, I'm just absolutely I'm very very concerned about what this is going to mandate in Colorado, specifically 1309. We've already hit 276, but 1309, I'm very concerned about a lot of religious liberty with this one, especially Christian Medishare programs, because they're not going to um, they're not going to pay for specific gender affirming procedures that um, go against go against those companies' religious beliefs, and that's going to create. In my opinion, I believe that's going to create a very large legal battle, and they're going to claim that these individual companies are committing discriminatory acts, and they're going to attack these programs. So I'm very concerned about what this is going to mean for our First Amendment rights for a lot of individual companies.
Yeah, and I mean, really, with 1309, is going to increase people's insurance costs. It might mean that some insurers leave the state of Colorado, so not good for the cost of healthcare insurance for sure. And then, so that's it, folks. That's really the last remaining bills we have to go through the process here. But now we got the bills that we got passed. So should we go through these quickly, Michael?
Let's go for it.
Perfect, perfect. Well, how about each slide? We'll switch off here. So, Senate Bill 70, and didn't like this bill. It's where these online marketplaces have to monitor to think if any of the goods on there are being sold or stolen, and then get it to the law enforcement. That did pass on to the governor, unfortunately.
House Bill 1319, county commissioner vacancies. This has passed on to the governor as well as vacancies in the General Assembly. Yes, there needed to be something, but something done. And I think that these bills are going to be better than our current system, but there were much better bills out there that were killed. And you can see that both of these bills had uh, more, we'll say, establishment leadership. I mean, you've got Kirkmeyer, Duran, and Puglisi. That's all leadership right there. Uh, Puglisi and Weissman and Kirkmeyer on 1315. Those are also that's also a lot of your leadership within the House and the Senate. So not surprised that that these bills pass just because of the backing that of the prime sponsors.
Yep. So interesting to see the outcomes of that if when we get another vacancy. 1314, this is to turn Department of Revenue employees into armed police to go enforce all this anti-gun BS they've passed. Unfortunately, that bill did pass. One good one that passed was 1281 for the Key or K vehicles, these little Japanese trucks. So that's a good one. We could see those here in Colorado. So one little bright spot this year.
House Bill 173, Revenue Classification of Taxpayer Bill of Rights. This was unfortunately passed as well and on to the governor. And you can tell Weissman, Garcia, and Zoike that you can tell that it was a terrible bill, and they're just trying to strip more of your Tabor rights, as well um, as well as COTA. COTA was expanded and has been passed on to the governor to claim that more things that you say are discriminatory um, and the Democrats decided to trample on your First Amendment rights a little bit more than they already have.
Yep. Two bad bills that just passed this last week. The Bitcoin ATM bill, Senate Bill 79 did pass, the new modifications there. House Bill 1327, this is the anti-democracy bill. The anti-citizen initiative bill did pass and is at the governor's desk.
Senate Bill 20, tenant landlord law enforcement passed. Just look at the sponsors. That'll tell you all you need to know, as well as House Bill 1006, school district solar garden lease term. This is the bill that will allow these, for example, I live in Jefferson County. There's a lot of schools that are no longer used because of how awful Jefferson County schools are. In fact, they closed down 15 schools last year because nobody uses Jeffco schools due to how they are run and the programs they implement. If you can take your kids out of school, well, instead of selling these schools, guess what they're doing? They are turning them in their solar gardens weirdly, or they're going to turn them into subsidized housing for teachers. So this is a bill to basically help out Jeffco schools, and very, very disappointed to see this one get passed through because this is going to end up helping to hurt Colorado kids.
Yep. And then a good one, the smart meter opt-in program where Excel Energy or other energy providers would have to get you to opt in to install a smart meter. House Bill 1175 was amended down, kind of weakened, but good one that passed onto the governor. Senate Bill 183, this is the taxpayer-funded abortion bill. Unfortunately, did pass, and of course, Jared Polis loves that type of thing.
House Bill 1247, county lodging tax exemption expansion. This is a redo of a bill from last session that failed. Well, where they were going to drastically increase the cost of Airbnb property taxes. This one unfortunately passed this time. And then House Bill 1113, limit turf new residential development. This is one step closer to limiting new turf statewide so people can't grow grass in their own yard. This passed as well and was sent to the governor.
Gun show requirements. Unfortunately, the governor signed that anti-gun show bill 1238. The where they have to label sell cultivated meat. Governor did sign that in House Bill 1203.
House Bill 1093, limitations on local anti-growth land use policies. This is a part of the whole 15-minute city agenda, and it's going to hurt local, and this is actually going to end up hurting a lot of local municipalities and force them to take on specific ordinances and policies that aren't going to be best for small and local municipalities across Colorado as well. And the good news is Senate Bill 86, which was passed on to the governor, as we talked about earlier, was killed. And we could not be more thrilled with all of you reaching out and making your voice heard. So thank you.
100%. Horrible bill. Senate Bill 33 did pass this year to limit pharmacy licenses, drugstore licenses for alcohol sales. Bad bill. Senate Bill 77 also vetoed by the governor. And of course, that veto stands. Great news there. Celebrations all around on Senate Bill 77.
House Bill 1010, prohibiting price gouging in sales of necessity. Again, we got Zoyke, Brown, and Weissman, another fantastic trio of communism that decided to shove a disgusting bill down their throat that's only going to hurt people when things get tricky and we're running into real issues economically in Colorado. House Bill 1040, adding nuclear energy as a clean energy resource, a that was signed by the governor, and shockingly one of the best bills, probably the best bill that got signed this legislative session.
Worst gun ban in Colorado history, Senate Bill 3, of course, signed by the governor, and the big ammunition ban, 1133, banning ammunition sales for anybody under 21, and all these other ridiculous requirements. Both horrible, horrible bills. Unfortunately, both signed by the governor.
House Bill 1005, tax incentive for film festival. This is our only blemish on Senator Baisley, who we've absolutely loved. If you didn't get a chance to listen last week, I absolutely encourage you guys to take a listen because he was fantastic. He's been pretty great all year. Um, Unfortunately, this bill is going to give 34 million to the Sunset Film Festival to come to Boulder. But everything else that we've seen from Senator Baisley has been fantastic. House Bill 1321, support against adverse federal action. This is a bill to sue the federal government. This was passed on to the government. This was passed and was sent to the governor.
Yep, I think it did become law. That's Jared Poll's little slush fund, so you could sue Trump. So stupid. And that's what we got, folks. Those are some of the big bills that passed this year, or that are signed or became law. Of course, there's a lot more, but those are some of the highlights. We're not going to go through everything. And then here's the bills that died this year. So, some good stuff. 1243 would have required police officers to tell you why they pulled you over and not ask you. That was a good one. 1145 to protect Colorado from becoming a sanctuary, a safe haven for trafficking kids for abortions and transgender stuff. Of course, that one died as well.
House Bill 1237 saw closing alcohol beverage establishments. It would allow people who have businesses to sell alcohol to be open later. That was killed, as well as Senate Bill 156, reducing costs of state regulation, killed as well.
Yeah, that was a Kelty bill there. That was a good one there to save some money.
Absolutely.
1255 from Representative Luck, which would have allowed healthcare providers to use their conscience in terms of some stuff they might not have liked. But of course, the Democrat majority doesn't like that. Neither did they like the idea of having parents give consent before minors can obtain medical services. That's how crazy it is down there, folks. They don't like that. So 1251 was killed.
House Bill 1190, expanding the Colorado Cottage Food Act. This was also called the Tamale Act, a Rep. Ryan Gonzalez bill that was killed, as well as a good bill from Rep. Stephanie Luck, she's another one of those fantastic group of legislators down at the Gold Dome. it's 1232 liability when means of self-defense prohibited, would have allowed people to give them more ability to defend themselves and be protected legally from the government attacking them, coming after them.
Yeah, and I'm really thinking about how 11 and 90 could come back next year. I think that Tamale Act, I think that could come back. I think there's a version of that that could pass. So we'll see if something like that passes. Of course, nobody wants to verify signatures on mail-in ballots, at least not the Democratic majority. So they kill 1089 and Representative Bradley's bill to crack down on gift card and retail property crime. That one also failed. 1141. You notice a pattern here, folks, of what the majority Democrats like and they don't like.
Senate Bill 56 reduced a premium cigar excise tax. This was good old Stompin' Tom Sullivan's bill to give his one of his favorite hobbies a tax break, give himself a little bit cheaper prices on his cigars. That was I like it, but it was killed. Then House Bill 1055. This was a good bill from Rep. Max Brooks to repeal. I believe it was Senate Bill 1313, if I remember the number correctly. That was the bill that added the additional state permits on FFLs. It was unfortunately killed in committee.
The egg bill, Representative Gonzalez's bill to get rid of the ridiculous cage-free egg lot. House Bill 1074, of course, died. We were all down there testifying on that one. And then another good bill from Representative Gonzalez to get rid of the 10-cent fee, aka tax on paper bags. Absolutely ridiculous. Of course, they killed that as well. So stupid. House Bill 1051.
House Bill 1134, insect production of human consumption. This was Rep. Bottom's bill to ban insects from being used as food for humans instead of people being able to eat actual meat. That was killed. And then 11 House Bill 1143, open source software and voting systems. This was another good bill by Rep. Brooks to um, excuse me. This is another fantastic bill by Rep. Brooks to kind of open up the access to a software voting system so people could actually see if there were any issues or if there were any bugs that could possibly lead to possible data breaches and shenanigans happening in our voting machines. And it was unfortunately killed.
Repeal retail delivery fees from Dan Woog, the Woogster there. House Bill 1144. Unfortunately, that bill failed. Enforcement of federal immigration law. This was the big effort by the Republican caucus to try and ensure that illegal immigrants don't have a sanctuary here in Colorado. Senate Bill 47. Of course, no surprise there, died.
House Bill 1106, remove participation collection limitations. This was unfortunately killed. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's your land, your house. You should be able to collect your own rainwater. Senate Bill 57, non-citizen voter registration cancellation. I mean, if nobody's here illegally, and if nobody is apparently registering to vote who shouldn't be voting, why did this bill get canceled? It seems like something that would have been a easy decision, but apparently it is dead.
Yep. And then great bill. I've testified on this one, 1242, to increase government transparency. Of course, the Democratic majority doesn't like that. And then thankfully, Senate Bill 76, the worst marijuana regulation bill we've seen in recent history, was killed. And it was feedback from the industry. It would have decimated the legal cannabis industry here in Colorado. So that bill was killed. I'm sure we'll see something come back in a different version in the future.
Senate Bill 139, grocery and utility reduction measures. We talked about Senator Baisley earlier. This was a phenomenal bill. We nicknamed this one the Afuera bill. And we were really sad to see this one, but also expected to see this one get killed. House Bill 1073, or protections against child rape. This one was referenced by Rep. Kelty earlier during our interview. This one was unfortunately killed. And how crazy is it that they killed a bill that would guarantee that child diddlers would see a jail cell? I mean, absolutely shocking that this is something that we see an estimated 70 uh, diddlers walk free. And it's absolutely disgusting. So they should see a jail cell, if not worse. So
Definitely, absolutely crazy there. Ken DeGraff and Mark Baisley's great bill to get rid of civil asset forfeiture in Colorado, House Bill 1067 was killed, and then Representative Luck's vacancy bill, House Bill 1100, also killed there.
House Bill 1262 regulate private security officers and agencies. This bill was killed, as well as Senate Bill 201. It was laid over during second reading. Require age checks for online sexual materials. Or yeah, that was killed as well.
Reducing the cost of housing. That's Paul and Dean's bill. It was construction defect reform. Senate Bill 131 was killed. Didn't make it very far. And then this ridiculous Bill 1303 for the insurance premiums for vulnerable road users was killed. And that's what we got, folks. That is what we got. That is the 2025 legislative session. It has been absolutely an honor and a privilege to have everybody joining us this year. All the testimony, seeing people down at the Capitol, meeting so many great people. Just appreciate it. Appreciate the activism. We had an incredible year, Michael. We had tons of guests on. We had legislators on nearly every single week. I mean, it was pretty interesting stuff. Got a lot of inside information. Hopefully, we empowered people, educated them, and helped contribute to making Colorado a little bit more of a free state.
Absolutely. I could not be more thrilled with seeing how many people are starting to speak up at the Capitol. I mean, look at what happened this week with 1312. Over 700 individuals signed up to testify. And I really hope that the dirty, disgusting tricks that the Senadora played don't discourage individuals, but I really hope that that it encourages people to wake up, get active. I had so today during church, I had so many different people come up and talk to me about about how to speak up, how to get involved, and it was so white pilling to see, because I know there's so many people that have this negative view of Colorado. It's hopeless, it's lost. We just have to wake people up. That's what we need. People need to realize what they can do, not think about what they can't do. So the more the people speak up, the more people get engaged, the more people start helping with campaigns, the more you talk to your neighbors, the easier it's going to get in Colorado, and we're going to turn this state around. So it's just a matter of time. It's not if, but when.
110%, of course. We get a lot of great comments there. Thank you, everybody. It was great seeing all these friends week after week. Brian says, thanks, Brandon Michael. Jimmy, thanks, Brandon Michael. Long live liberty. Yep, long live liberty. And yeah, thanks to everybody else there. Hope to see everybody at the Independence Institute for the wine and cheese party. It's kind of an end of session wrap up. It's going to be a blast. I'll be down there. Michael will be down there. Please join us. That is coming up here on Thursday, Thursday, May 15th. Please join us Thursday, May 15th. I'll share that in the chat again. Please join us for that. And then I'll actually be the featured speaker at Liberty on the Rocks in Denver on May 21st, also at the Independence Institute. Every year I do a legislative recap. So I'll be down there giving a presentation on all the craziness this year. Of course, you'll be already an expert on all of it if you've been joining us every week, but I hope to see you there. It'd be a really good way to kind of cap off the session and everything we did this year. I mean, here we go, Michael. We did 18 weeks. We didn't miss a single week. This is our 18th 2+ hour live stream that we've been doing since January. How wild is that, man?
It's been absolutely insane, and it's so awesome to see the numbers this year compared to last year. I mean, it was a consistent build up, and even the numbers within this year of people that were engaged, people that were interested, people that were coming to figure out what's going on at the Colorado Capitol. It was very encouraging to see. So I'm very thrilled with all the support that we've gotten from you guys, and how many of you went down to the Capitol to actually speak out and speak up against a lot of the garbage bills, and then as well some of the good bills that we had. So thank you to everybody who utilize their voice, and let them know how you feel about these bills that are getting shoved through Colorado legislature.
100%. We'll be back next year. Looking forward to it. We come back. We're going to get better every year. We're going to be more effective every year. We're going to fight a little bit harder every year. We're going to be fighting smarter every year. More strategy, more tactics, all the fun stuff. So, yeah, we're going to win. We're going to have a huge impact in 2026. And there's so many plans I have over at Free State Colorado. Really excited to see all the plans the Libertarian Party of Colorado has. over the next coming years. And yeah, just appreciate everybody. Thanks, Dave, Gordon, everybody in the comments there, all your kind words. Thanks, Missy, Forest Mommy, Jody, everybody we saw every week, Brian, Mike, everybody out there. Really appreciate you all. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. It's like the end of the school year or something. I feel like I'm a kid again. But stay cool, stay rad. Don't change. We'll see you sometime soon. Keep in touch. And yeah, we'll be around. Michael and I'll be floating around, X, Facebook, all the places. Free State Colorado got tons of more videos, tons of more stuff coming out. So the fight is far from over, folks. And we just gotta come back stronger next year. So awesome. Awesome. Any other thoughts, Michael?
I think that's it. Just make sure you stay aware, stay and pay attention. Legislative session is not over yet, so you never know what they're going to try to shove, what they might introduce tomorrow and try to shove through by the end of session. So, and just like or they might try to revive something that you thought was dead at the last minute as well. So just keep your eyes peeled. You never know what they might try to do over these next couple days, or and try to shove through, or might sneak a horrible amendment through at the last minute as well. So just just keep your eyes peeled. Let people know what's going on. Let us know, because there's a good chance, with we saw earlier, 731 bills introduced. There's a lot of bills that still haven't passed, and they might try to sneak something in until the very last second. So please let us know. Reach out to me. Reach out to Brandon. Let us all know what's going on, so that way we can blast it out if they try to do something nefarious.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching a lot of the Capitol proceedings tomorrow night, or tomorrow during the day, excuse me, Monday. So I'll be kind of live tweeting throughout the day if I see anything interesting or anything that people need to jump on. But if you guys go back to the beginning of this video, and I'll post on X after this, but those are the urgent calls to action, those six bills, six of the biggest bills going through the legislature. Those are the big ones to keep an eye on from my perspective. But yeah, keep up the fight. Don't give up. Bring more people into the fight. That's what we got to do. We just need more numbers, more people fighting, strong people fighting. So awesome. Yeah, appreciate it, everybody. Take care. Hope to see you at those upcoming events next week at the Independence Institute. And then the week after that, go to Liberty on the Rocks. Follow all of us on X, Libertarian Party Colorado, Free State Colorado. And yeah, until next time, it's kind of bittersweet here, saying goodbye to everybody. But it's been a lot of fun, and really proud of the work we did, Michael. And hopefully, hopefully we'll be free sooner rather than later.
That is the hope.
Awesome. All right. Well, good night, everybody. Best wishes and take care.
Viva Libertar, Carajo.